This interview will be of Mr. Tom Paski, February 25th, 2003, in his home on Bainbridge Island. The interviewer is Jack Greenawalt. This is tape number 1. Now, I know that you've written something that you'd like to speak to, so why don't we start with that?
Well, I just put a few little notes and so on.
Great.
Did you wish to ask some questions, or?
Let's just start with what you've got and see how it unfolds.
Well, it's pretty small there. I hope I can read it. No, I really don't quite know exactly what's expected, so.
Well, we're interested in history, you know, and you've got a lot of history in your head, things you've lived through, and particularly as it applies to the schools and your career in the school here in Bainbridge Island.
Well, what I did here was to, I put on about when I first came to the island.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's start with that.
Well, let me just review this.
Okay.
Well, and then describing Bainbridge High School the way it was, I mean, where we played, who we played,
sure.
What the opposition was like, describing maybe the fields where we played, the gymnasium that we had at the time was not very big. It was crowded and so on. And problems of being isolated because the bridge wasn't in.
I suppose that changed a lot in terms of who you competed with.
Well, we were in the Olympic League, and I thought maybe I would just review who was in it and.
Well, let's start. Why don't we start with that then?
Well,
that'll lead into the facilities and all sorts of things.
Well, we'll see what goes. And
okay.
You need a test pattern here?
No, we're all set.
Well, oh boy, I better blow my nose too, because Lois and I both had colds last week.
There's a lot
we
of
wouldn't have been able to.
There's a lot that's been going around.
Yeah. Well, I'll see. Now I wonder, do I talk loud enough, or?
You're doing just fine.
Well, okay. Now, do I have to introduce myself,
no,
or just?
I've done that already.
Oh, that's all.
I've done that already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
that's on the tape,
okay.
and that we ought to leave the mic right where it is.
Oh,
that'll work right.
That'll
fine
be close enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you want to refer to your notes, that's fine. If you want to talk with me, that's fine.
Well, I have to kind of, so that things are a little organized here. Yeah. Well, I guess we're ready to go.
Yeah.
I first came to Bainbridge Island in the fall of 1947, having taught for 9.5 years and coached in the Wenatchee City Schools. I had 44 months in the service, and I arrived having graduated with a master's degree from the University of Washington.
Had you taught before you came?
9.5 years.
Yeah. And where were those?
Wenatchee.
Wenatchee.
yes.
What led you to come to Bainbridge Island?
Well, I was in need of a job. Coming out of the service, not knowing where we were going to be next. Well, I applied at several places and had my credentials at the University of Washington. Now, the first problem that I had on coming to Bainbridge was to find a place to live, and the first place was in a rented home on Wing Point, at Wing Point. Well, it was kind of opposite where the second sand green was at the time at the golf course. Another thing that Lois did not come to the island at the time. She was teaching at Bothell as a home ec teacher, and Lois and I had a small apartment in Seattle near the Latona School that was very close to the university. Now, in finding a place to live, that didn't last long, because in the rented home the heat wasn't the best in the upstairs room, and secondly, in the fall part of the year when it started to rain, the place leaked just a little bit. So fortunately I found a small apartment over a garage on the Poussard family that lived on Hollyway, close to the ferry landing. Now, eating was a problem. I could get my own breakfast. We had a hot plate, and would eat my lunch at school in the school lunchroom. But in the evenings and so on, after practice, a lot of the times I would drive students home on the island because we had no activities bus. A lot of people, some families had cars and would come and get their youngsters, but on stormy nights, I'd load the car and take them home. Now, coming back, by that time, I was hopeful that maybe a neat place or two on Winslow Way might be open. I would stop at Archie's drugstore.
And where was that located?
That was right about where, well, very close to Winslow Hardware. Archie's drugstore. And Mrs. Selland had a little sandwich counter in the back, would fix me a sandwich and maybe a cup of soup. Or if Archie's was closed, then I would go across the street. Cameretta's had a little sandwich place where, well, there was it's right where the antique Bad Blanche, I think was the name, yes. It was located there. Now, Bainbridge at the time, Bainbridge High School had approximately 200 students, counting freshmen, and the state classification at the time in competition, there were two divisions, A's and B's. So the Olympic League was made up of the three Kitsap schools that were Class A and Port Angeles Class A. Bainbridge, Sequim, and Port Townsend were the B's, or the the little guys at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the opposition, as far as the schools were concerned and so on, to relate what we were up against, being a smaller school physically, we were outmanned, which meant football was just a little bit tough,
Mm-hmm.
where they would wear you out, and maybe in the last quarter or so, kind of make a travesty of some of the games. But South Kitsap had fine athletes, well coached. Well, I meant to include, by the way, some of the other schools that at one time or another were in the league. Vashon at one time was in the league. North Mason, Shelton, Bremerton, both East and West Bremerton, and even Forks up north.
Oh, really?
Yes. Now, South won a state championship in basketball, so, you know, they were always tough.
Yeah.
Central Kitsap, they had a coach by the name of Jake Mayberry that coached and left to go to Linden, and he won several state championships for Linden and was actually, until Ed Peppel of Mercer Island came along, he was the leader in the number of wins. So there was tough competition there.
Right.
But later, Central also won a state championship. North Kitsap, always loaded with big kids. They had Harlan Svari that played for the New York Giants when they won the championship. He later coached the Los Angeles Rams and also San Diego. But he wasn't the only one that they had that was big and tough. Squim had Leonard Bile that went to Seattle University, who was a fine basketball player. Port Townsend had Jim Thomas that played for the university in football. Jeff Holler that played at Oregon State in basketball. The best kid they had up there, Delaney, played in the service. He never did go to college. Port Angeles was always well stocked with athletes, and they were coached by Jack Elway, that later coached San Jose State and Stanford, and whose son played for Denver as...
That was the Elway.
Yes, that was the Elway.
Uh-huh.
So they had, they had a kid by the name of Briggs that played at the university. They had Herworth that played at the university as a guard. Bernie Fryer in basketball played pro part of the time and has been a successful referee in pro ranks. I think he's still refereeing.
Were there any of the youngsters from Bainbridge Island that went on to either college or the pros or coaching?
Well, not to the pros, but yes, we had Tommy Amuela that went to West Point and played for Bobby Knight when he was there before he went to Indiana,
Mm-hmm.
but and ended up a lieutenant colonel and was in the service with a nice record. Incidentally, is in Santiago, Chile now, and is retired as a lieutenant colonel.
Mm-hmm.
We had, altogether we had 6 all-state basketball players.
Mm-hmm.
We had 3 that played, that were all-state baseball, and we had 1 that was selected in those days in football.
Do you recall who the all-state basketball players were?
Oh, yes. Yes, Bob Olson was my first one on the team in 1948. Dave Beach was in 1954 and 55. He made All-State both years. In fact, set a fieldhouse record in the state tournament at UPS in Tacoma. In the semifinals against Newport, he had 20 points in the first 10 minutes, but he got a third foul before I could get him out. I had a guy ready to go in, so we had to take him out, and he sat out 6 minutes into the half, and then we made adjustments on defense and so on, and Dave scored 20 more points in the second half, so he set a fieldhouse record of 40 points in 26 minutes of playing time. Others that in basketball, Gene Stark, the 55 team, Dick Axelson of the 55 team was an All-Stater. Al Moella was an All-Stater, and Steve Andreessen that led the state, by the way, in scoring at 28.4 one year, and he finished second one year. Now, where we played?
Yes.
We played where the present gymnasium stands, and the field ran, one end zone was toward High School Road and toward where Frank Kitamoto's clinic is, their dental clinic.
This is football.
This is the football field. We played on it for 2 years. We also played baseball there, and in the right center field there was a patch of trees, and it sloped on down to where Commodore is now. That our left fielder, it depended how deep he was playing. You could see half of him if he was playing pretty deep. But we played there 2 years, and then eventually moved to what is now Memorial Field. It was nothing but a mud hole and a rock pile at the time, and my PE kids would always ask, "What are we going to do today?" And I'd say, "Grab a bucket, we're going to pick rocks." So
well, that's good conditioning.
Yeah, so eventually we shaped it up so that it was playable. We didn't have lights at the time. Creosote donated the poles. The power company dug the holes and assisted on putting up the poles with volunteer labor. And some of the poles, well, there were sponsors for one arm of lights that we had at the time, that some of the local organizations were sponsors, and some of the families on the island were sponsors. Our baseball field eventually then was beyond Memorial Field. We started it, and it was pretty much a cow pasture at the time, with a skinned infield. We had screens and a backstop, but the outfield was somewhat rough and so on, where there were a few bad bounces at times.
I'd be interested to know, was the football field lighting sounds like a totally volunteer sort of a thing. Were school funds used, or was it mostly funds from the
Pretty
community?
much volunteer. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Well, like I said, Creosote donated the poles.
Mm-hmm.
The power
Yeah.
company didn't charge anything. It was all volunteer, plus a lot of the townspeople that assisted and so on.
Who organized that? Do you recall?
Oh, well, I really
You were-
don't know. I think it had to be maybe Mr. Buchanan, our superintendent, and maybe some of the board members and so on.
Uh-huh. Were you involved in that too?
Well, to a degree, yes. I picked rocks. Now, in basketball, we played in the old gym, in the old building. It was, well, the floor itself was 74 feet in length, 10 feet short of regulation.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 45 feet in width, which was about 5 feet less than the standard of 50 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we had rectangular wooden backboards. The gym itself had a little stage on one side where there were a set of bleachers for some of the students. There were two little balconies on both ends. The pep band was up in one end where we had a scoreboard that was up there like a pinball machine. and well, if you didn't get there at 6:30, the place was, well, they were hanging from the rafters. We sold out every ball game that the fire chief wouldn't permit any more to come in because of fire regulations. It was well, the dressing facilities in the dressing room down in the sub-basement and so on were not adequate, especially for football. There was no place to hang up your stuff and so on. When Mr. Morley's shop class built the grandstand, they built just half of it to start with. And our locker room was underneath with a pot-bellied stove. We had dowels in the walls to hang up our equipment.
No lockers.
No lockers. If your equipment, no drying room. If your equipment was wet and muddy when you came off the field and put it on the next day, it was the same. So eventually, when the Buchanan Memorial Gym was built, we had nice facilities with a team room and drying room for equipment, nice PE facilities with a PE office in the middle and two wings for showering for the classes, where each kid had an individual basket with a lock and so on. But the gym had a balcony, and we utilized it with ping pong tables and whatnot for a noon program. I supervised the gym at noon and made sure they didn't eat the lunches in there because that was, we didn't permit it, but ran a noon program. My contract originally was to coach the three sports. I had
that would be baseball,
football, basketball, and baseball. Yeah. There were no girls' sports at the time. I did, by the way, I had a one-man track team, so I really coached four sports.
Tell me a little
We
bit
had
about that.
several of the kids that liked to run and so on, and I took the car and measured out different distances on the roads and so on that they could go out and work out to run, because I didn't have time to work with them, and we had no track around Memorial Field at the time. So yeah, one survived. So I took him to South Kitsap to the Olympic League meet and entered him in the 880 and the half mile. He had never been tested to run that far, and so on. Benny Dennis was his name. His dad was an architect, and mother was involved with the arts and crafts when they first started on the island. But yeah, Benny, I told him, I said, just hang in there with the rest of the pack, and if you got anything left, why,
Show it
go all
at the
out.
end.
And he won it.
Really?
Yes, he won it. His time was 2037.
That's very good.
Well, for the
high
first
school
time
in those days.
Well,
yeah.
in those days, and he had never run, so I took him to. He qualified for the West Central District meet at Highline. So we went over there, and here he's matched up against all the top athletes from Tacoma and elsewhere. And they started on the track with a staggered start, and because of Benny's time compared to the others, they put him in the back row. And when the gun sounded, they took off just like a sprint, and he was amazed. I mean, he trailed. He didn't place, but at least he got there, so that was my one-man track team.
Well, we were talking about facilities. Is there anything more that you want to talk about when you came here, what it looked like? And you talked about how the improvements that came along.
Well, eventually, when the Buchanan Gym started in Memorial Gym in 1956, the small gym in the old building was converted into a library. And eventually then, I guess, well, there was a fire. So that ended that. But we started in '56, yes, when we played the first game in the new gym. So really, I've gone through.
Was that a regulation court?
Oh yes, it was a nice facility. It was a modern, well-lit. It was probably the best in the Olympic League at the time. So, I was going to mention that my original contract was to coach the three sports, and a full schedule of. I was a history and civics teacher. I had 2 sessions, 2 classes. One semester I taught economics. The following semester, sociology. I had 9th grade boys PE and health, and also the sophomore or 10th boys PE. So plus a study hall, the last period of the day. So that was my schedule.
Wow.
My original contract was for $3,900. And after 26 years of teaching, or 23 years of teaching on Bainbridge, I didn't even make $14,000. So when it came time, when the top three salaries were averaged out on a scale with the retirement service, T6 retirement, it didn't amount to much compared to what they're getting at the present time. Well, now, let's see.
Did that, you said it was 39,000?
No, 3,900.
3,900, I'm
Yes,
sorry, yes,
yes,
I misspoke. Was that for the school year, or did you work in the summertime too with the school, or did?
No, this was for 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
And summertime, then if I didn't go to summer school, I ended up out on a fish boat with my dad, or either commercial fishing. I fished with two Finn brothers on a boat called the Alatar, where we fished salmon, silvers, and converted our gear and fished tuna when tuna hit within about 20 miles of the west coast at the time on the Washington and Oregon coast.
About what time was that? What year was that, do you recall?
This was in the 1930s, and I fished in the summertime, drag seining at the mouth of the Columbia for Columbia River Packers Association, CRPA. They had canneries in Astoria, but we fished with poundage gear with nets that were 240 fathoms long, or 1,440 feet.
What is poundage gear?
Well, it was heavy gear. It wasn't like a gill net.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
gill nets was a bigger mesh. This was a smaller mesh type drag seine with a headline and so on. We had 4 teams of horses on the head and 2 on the tail, and we worked the net back into the beach in the form of a trap and just threw the fish on the beach or into a fish wagon. And I fished several summers on the seining grounds, and the big run would come in the month of August. The river always closed on August 25th. So luckily the run would come prior to the close of the river, and we hauled in a lot of salmon.
Yeah. Did you say you threw them up on the beach or in a boat? Did
In
you?
a little fish wagon, where they would haul it to the barge, where they would barge the fish into Astoria to the cannery.
Were you gaffing them then and throwing them, or how?
No, well, you just reach and pick them up by the gills.
Okay.
Salmon, lay it on your forearm and grab the tail and just flip it into the fish wagon.
So you could just reach down with your hand.
Oh,
and
yeah,
do that.
yeah. But we had one net. The biggest haul that was ever made was 35 tons.
Wow.
You couldn't land the net. So the crew had to go into the pot itself and just pick out fish and throw them on the beach. I have pictures of it. No, there was a lot of salmon in those days.
Yeah, that was back in the 30s, you said.
Yes, and there were fish traps at the time and so on. Initiative measure outlawed poundage gear, so drag seines and fish traps were outlawed. But eventually purse seining came back. I mean, they purse seine up in the San Juans and so on. I didn't see what the difference was, but they didn't permit the drag seining anymore.
So when you were employed here on Bainbridge Island, were you sometimes in the summer then fishing in the summer?
If I wasn't in summer school, it was always, yes, it was always out on a fish boat or drag seining.
Well, when you came to Bainbridge, you had one master's degree, and I believe you earned another master's degree.
No, I had a BA and from the University of Washington. I had a 3-year teaching certificate.
Oh, okay.
From Cheney. Was Cheney Normal at the time, that now is Eastern Washington University.
Mm-hmm.
So I was permitted at the time you could teach either with a 2 or a 3-year certificate in those days.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I started in Wenatchee in the fall of 1932 as well. I was assigned in the Lincoln School. It was an elementary school, and I had the 5th and 6th grades combined in one room. I was teaching two classes in one room, so I had 2 different preparations, and I was the assistant coach at the high school. My original contract was for $1,000 for the year in 12 payments, so I was getting $86.67 a month. But we were paid in county warrants at the time that during the Depression you couldn't cash. So I would go to a men's clothing store, the Mills Brothers store, to buy a sweater. They would take my warrant, and they would discount it 5%, and the warrant would bear 6%. So they were making 11 on my 86.67 in those days.
Yeah. Wow.
But you could buy a suit of clothes for $35 at that time.
Could you buy food with the warrant?
Well, no, you paid cash. No, you couldn't go to a neat place with a warrant because.
Well, I was thinking of groceries.
Well, we ate out. I mean,
Uh-huh.
in those days, or boarded. I lived all with a couple of families and managed. I refereed on the side. I worked before Christmas at Mills Brothers store in the evenings and so on.
Uh-huh.
And also prior to Easter and so on, when they had some of their sales, I was an extra salesman there, selling neckties and shirts and things. But I refereed on the side. I refereed the Okanagan Olmec Thanksgiving Day game and their Armistice Day game. They played each other twice. I refereed the Okanagan County tournament twice in basketball.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yes.
In fact, when I was a student athlete at Senior Normal, with my coach, Red Reese, I refereed the Lincoln County tournament at Reardon and made $25 in one day as a referee, refereeing 4 games.
That was big money
in a tournament.
Days.
Well, now.
I
Any
thought maybe you wanted to say something to your wife.
Oh, no.
Well, we were talking about facilities. What were the facilities like by the time you retired?
Well, when I retired Lois and I retired at the same time in 1970.
Mm-hmm.
And I was was no law. I coached football, basketball, and baseball the first 14 years. So I wasn't connected with football or baseball the last 9, but I had basketball with the Buchanan Gymnasium with fine facilities. So.
Well, now you had some very successful teams during that time. You went to the state several times, I believe.
Oh yes, we won the state tournament in 1948. The last time that the B tournament was played at Edmondson Pavilion at the university, we beat Kalama in the finals in 48. In 54, we finished second. In 55, we finished second. In 54, we won 22 and lost 3. In 55, we won 26 in a row and lost on a last shot for the state championship in an undefeated season.
Oh.
Yeah, so we
That was kind of a heartbreaker.
well, we enjoyed the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat, as they say on TV.
Yes, indeed.
We had no, we were in the state tournament. Well, in let's see, 68, we finished 6th. And we were in the tournament 7 different times, but lost 2 games and were out, or we'd win 1 and lose 2 and we're out. Well, we won 3 West Central District championships. We either tied or won 8 Olympic League championships. Altogether, well, total, I figured it out one day here that
You have total 1 loss?
we won a total of 418 games in counting the 3 sports. We lost 255 and we tied 3. But this was against the big guys. When we played a practice schedule in basketball outside of our league schedule, we always scheduled what teams that are presently in what's called the Kinko League. We played Lake Washington High School. We played Bothell. We played Mount Si. We played Issaquah. We played Mercer Island. We played Federal Way. We played Foster. Those were and most of those teams were the Class A's at the time.
Yeah.
We always loaded up trying to play a tough schedule.
That was deliberate that you...
Yes, because I told the kids that, like, when we would go to a tournament, I would tell them that we have beaten better teams in our own league than we're going to meet in the tournament, because we were playing the big guys. And it seemed, well, football, for instance, where we played maybe 15 kids in a ball game. So you had to play 2 ways. You had to play offense and defense both. Where the bigger schools could play 22. They could play a defensive unit if they wanted, or they could intermix their offense and defense. But so football was a bit tough. But we took our licks the first couple years. North Kitsap beat us, I remember, 40-0 the first year when they had Sparry and Baker and Mackey and the big guys. they showed no mercy. By the third, we started to turn things around by the third year.
Mm-hmm.
That on my birthday, October 1st, we beat North 13-0 on my birthday. And that was where things started to gel a little bit, and we started to hold our own. Against South Kitsap, the first 7 years, they waxed us. We played them close several times, lost once on the last play of a game. In the last 7 years that we played them, we beat them 5 times. So, but competition was tough. I knew at the time there were no opportunities to scout teams because we played in the daytime. The Agate Pass Bridge wasn't in.
Mm-hmm.
We traveled.
Talking about crossing on the ferry.
Yeah, that the bridge across Hood's Canal wasn't in at the time. They had a little 7-car ferry called the Acorn that wasn't big enough for a school bus. So if we played up north, if we played Angeles or Sequim or Port Townsend, we had to travel by car. So in basketball, we would play Sequim one night, and we would be in the Olympic Hotel in Bremerton in Port Angeles for the night. We would play Angeles the next night and stay in the hotel and come back on Sundays. Because the ferries didn't run at night. This little one didn't. The last trip that it took was about 10:30 unless we chartered it. So we broke a few speed limits sometimes coming back from up north, to try and catch the last boat.
Yeah.
And we had one car that didn't make it once, that had to drive around Hood's Canal to get back home.
There were never any car accidents or anything?
No, we got stopped for speeding at one time. I remember, John Fox was my assistant, and he got picked up for speeding, and I took $17 out of the towel money to pay the fine. But well, most of the time, finally when the bridge went in, or when the rhododendron was put on in place of the acorn across the canal before the bridge was built, so you could get a bus on the rhododendron. So then everything going north was by bus, and some of these at night, those were the first time that some of these kids ever slept away from home, off the island, and ate in the restaurant. we took a few trips in those days. But
what an experience that must have been for the boys.
Well, in the state tournament in '48, we won the West Central District tournament at Pacific Lutheran. That's where the West Central District tournament took place, and we were matched up against Harrington in our first game, and they led us by 5 points at the half, and they led us by 1 point at the end of 3/4. And we held them to 1 point the whole last quarter, and we won by 4. The next night we played St. John, and they were considered one of the favorites, and they had a fine team, well coached. They had a center by the name of Howell that eventually played for Jack Friel at WSU. They had a guard by the name of Schabel that eventually played for Gonzaga, so they had 2 kids that went on to college to play. They led us, let's see, it was 25-17 at the half. They scored 3 points in the 3rd quarter, and we tied it at 28-28 in the 3rd quarter. The last quarter, we shut them out.
Is that right?
And we scored 4 points to win 32-28 in that game. Now, with the score tied, Pete Gulsitz, my captain and rebounder, a top rebounder, and a good scorer, good shooter, sprained an ankle. So out of the game he came, severe sprain, and we sent him to the training room to ice him down and so forth. So we played without Pete, with the score tied, but still won by 4 points. The next night, Pete, we played Squim out of our own league, and we had split with them during the season. They had a good team, and they were well coached. We played without Pete and won in a close game, both teams in the low 30s in scoring. So now we're matched up against Kalama, the favorites, in the finals. And here the question mark is, can Pete play?
Yeah.
So he was checked out and x-rayed, fully x-rayed and so on. And it was decided, well, there was some lady by the name of Mrs. Marshall, I think it was, that I read in the Bainbridge paper, that had stated that she had a son that had a severe sprain that had been Novocaine and taped up and was able to play.
Mm-hmm.
So Dr. Wilt was our team doctor at the time, and he applied the Novocaine. Percy Ektovic of the university staff was their trainer. He tipped Pete up, it was almost like a boot.
Mm-hmm.
And we warmed up in the intramural gym before the ball game to see whether Pete could play.
Right.
And the foot was numbed. He said it feels kind of funny, but he said it doesn't hurt. Yeah, so I said, well, it's going to be your decision, Pete, before the game starts.
Mm-hmm.
I said, they're going to ask me who our starters are. So when the announcer asked me about the starters, is he going to start or not? And I looked at Pete, and he nodded. He said, I want to play.
Mm.
So that was it. And he played the whole ball game.
Is that right?
He scored 3 points. Ordinarily, he was one of our top scorers. Kalama had a center with 2 centers, really. They played a double post.
Mm-hmm.
Cranston that was their top player, and we held him to 3 points. And Palmer, the other center, was the guy that was doing the scoring for them. They had a guy by the name of Spanner, Pete Spanner. He was 6'2", and my kid Doc Nadeau was 5'8", trying to check him. So I made adjustments and put Bob Woodman into the ball game to match up on size. Spanner didn't score a point in the ball game. We led most of the game, and with 9 seconds left on the score clock, they had a circle of bulbs that would go out when the time expired. There were 9 bulbs left on that clock, and they had fouled us, and we had a 2-point lead. We had the choice of either shooting the free throw or taking the ball out of bounds. Well, we had a signal that we were taking the ball out of bounds. So we set up our out of bounds play and got the ball into Bob Buchanan, and he dribbled in the backcourt. If they had fouled us, we would have taken the ball out of bounds again.
Sure.
But we got away with it, and all the bulbs went out. That was it.
Yeah.
And Buchanan threw the ball practically into hit the ceiling, and pandemonium reigned.
Yeah.
They had ropes stretched so that you couldn't get on the floor. But that was quite an event.
You know, I kind of see a pattern in some of these games you described where the defense comes on very strong.
Well,
in the second half, particularly
against Kalama, we held them to no points in the last quarter, the whole last quarter. No, wait a minute. Against St. John, we held them to 3 points the whole second half. And against Harrington, they only got 1 point the last quarter. But I don't remember just what the scoring was, although Kalama was picking up. We had several point lead, and they closed it up to within 2 until the final light went out.
Coach, how did you achieve that kind of defense in the second half of games?
Well, we made adjustments. We played what was called a matchup type of matchup zone defense. And it was confusing to some teams. They didn't know whether we were playing man for man or zone. So they would set up, they would run the guy on through and so on to see whether we went with the guy. Well, part of the time we did, and part of the time we didn't. In other words, to confuse the opposition. But we intercepted balls, and of course it was a half-court game, same way that we were playing carefully not to throw the ball away. So when we possessed it, they weren't scoring. That was pretty much the way we had to play. In those days, rules were different. You couldn't, present day rules now, there's a lot of contact. They set up illegal screens. They don't call the 3-second violation in the key as often as they did. They palm the ball and there's a lot of hand checking and so forth, and they're hanging on. And in those days it was more of a finesse type of game, that a screen you had to be set without movement and so on to set a screen, well, there were a lot of what you would call picayune fouls in those days. But
what's your opinion of that change in what's a change in officiating as much as anything, isn't it?
well, pro basketball. See, according to the rules about basketball, contact was a foul.
Yeah.
Which meant that you had to be careful. As I say, there were a lot of little picayune fouls. There's always contact on rebounding.
Mm-hmm.
Well, today in pro basketball, in the blocks where the postman sets up, it's just like sumo wrestling. Well, they're just belting guys around.
Yeah,
that
that's right. Decking
size,
people all the time.
right? You bump a guy to get him off stride, or you back him up. They're skilled. They're big. Well, I describe pro basketball. It's just like ice hockey without sticks. In other words, there's a lot of, well, screens are illegal. I mean, they're running, moving screens. They're hanging on all the time. Officiating, it's at the whim of the referee. Pretty much, if you're a star, they kind of protect you, and if you're a rookie, why, it's a foul.
It's more show business now.
Oh, they're good. They're skilled athletes, and they're terrific. But size-wise, the biggest kid I ever had was 6'5".
Of course, that was big in those days.
Well, yeah, but our 48 team, Olson wasn't over 6'2". My rebounder, Uglesich, was barely 6 feet, if that, and the rest were not very big. We had a lot of good kids. Like I said, with baseball, if you had a good pitcher, there's a 48-hour rule. In other words, that you couldn't play within 24 hours. I mean, you couldn't pitch 2 successive games.
Mm-hmm.
So that hurt us at times. But I used to, well, when I had Beach was my pitcher, we beat South Kitsap. Yeah, we beat them 8 in a row one time in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And they had good athletes over there, good hitters. But rules, see, the key in basketball changed. I mean, it used to be a 6-foot lane, and it was widened out to 12 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Now they've got a 3-point shot.
No.
We didn't have in those days. In the little gym, for instance, because it was 74 feet in length, the timeline was not at midcourt. It was moved, the timeline, 10-second line that you had to cross to the front court was from center court to the other foul line. It was, or the foul circle. It was practically part way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but see, the present day floors for high school basketball are 84 by 50, and we were 74
Mm-hmm.
by 45, as I said in the little gym.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I didn't go back to watch basketball after I retired.
That's interesting. Why is that?
Well, several reasons. I didn't want to be looking over somebody else's shoulder to be critical
I understand.
if I didn't agree with what was going on. Secondly, there would be several ferry boat coaches that would come to sit next to me and say, well, what are they doing now? You know, or why don't they put in so and so? So I didn't enjoy it. So I just stayed completely away. But I did attend state tournaments, always, that were being played in Tacoma at the Tacoma Dome. We would go to what's now the Key Arena for the class. Yeah, that was the top classification of teams that would play their tournaments. And eventually, I mean, girls' teams came along, and our girls here have been highly successful. We've, I think, our girls have won 3 state championships in basketball. They've had good swim teams. Things have changed. Right now in high school, for instance, well, they've got club sports that we didn't have in those days. I mean, they've got both boys and girls lacrosse teams. They've got water polo, both boys and girls teams. They've even got sailing now as a club sport with out front, in front of our place here. They practice and they have their little regattas. There are 6 or 7 small craft 1- and 2-man boats that practice out there.
How do you feel about the change that's come about?
Oh, I think it's wonderful. I think it's terrific that to have kids playing in sports, participating, having an opportunity. I always felt sorry for the kids that never made a state tournament, or I felt sorry for the kids that took their licks, you know, and in football or other sports. But we lost it together. I always told them that if you tried your best, you can hold your head up and look anybody in the eye that if we were outmanned or outcoached, if it were outcoached, then it was my fault. If we were outmanned and played our best, that was, But they've got a good program at the school at the present time. Lois and I have made donations to their athletic fund, and they've always been very appreciative and very nice to us.
That's a real honor that you received here recently with naming the gym.
Well, that pretty much represented, see, between the two of us, Lois and I put in 45 years where our lives were dictated by bells every 55 minutes until some of the acknowledgments and letters and so on came in concerning the naming of the gym. It was, you didn't realize at the time maybe the effect that you might have had on somebody's life, but if they're being honest in what they say, why, we're very humble to have been connected. What I'm pleased about too, you know, when I have looked back on the success of the kids that we had in school, oh, there were guys that own businesses that are several $1 million. I mean, they've got businesses of their own. They're developers. Well, attorneys. There were bankers, quite a few. We had several that were in supervisory capacity with Boeing and AT&T. Well, there were three, to my knowledge, that ended up as lieutenant colonels that outranked me, by the way. I ended up a major. And, my lawyer, my dentist, were former graduates. Quite a few were attorneys. And
some of those people stayed on the island and some left, of course.
Yes. But, you take Beach is with an air freight line up in Anchorage, travels to the Orient quite often. Ed McKinney has a potato, it's a plant where they cut potato for Frito-Lay. He's got quite a factory or a business. Here's Rick Skelton building retirement homes. I don't know how many, but
he hasn't built one for you yet.
Well, no, but it won't be long. Golly, you take Don Nakata with the chain of grocery stores and so on. That, of course, I didn't teach him the grocery business. I didn't have anything to do with it, but he was one of my students and one of the best. Yeah, but
so, in addition to coaching, you taught all the time that you were with the school system?
Yes. There was no, you earned your money. Well, I always felt and told people that I'm a teacher first and a coach second. That coaching was nothing more than teaching and more or less trying to encourage kids to do their best, motivation, But, we came in on the Colocan years ago. I remember that was the first ferry that I rode to come here. Yeah.
What was the biggest change in terms of the life on the island, the general life on the island? What was there anything that you can point to that was a big change?
Well,
that marked a big change, I guess I should say.
Well, of course, with the population increasing and so on, our high school, we were around the 200 mark in attendance, including the freshmen at the time. Now, from the 10th through the 12th grade, they're up over 1,000. The big changes on when the Agate Pass Bridge went in, traffic picked up. I can remember the night that Governor Waldron was here to honor our 1948 team. That same night, when I drove back to where I was living at the time, that's the first night that Winslow had streetlights.
Is that right?
Yeah, that was in 1948. So, the changes in building. Yesterday, for instance, with Neil Clow, we toured the island. I was amazed at Fort Ward, changes that have taken place there. Although also the well, the schools. I mean, we've got see, everything was in the original building. Although there was, well, the Lincoln School was not there when I first. Well, let's see, it wasn't utilized, no. And there was a little school over at Eagledale. But little by little, with Commodore Bainbridge was built, and all the other elementary schools, and now with the Sakai School, yeah, everything is building up. But the Parks Department, see, out at Battle Point, of course, now it's a park that at that time was a military installation. And like around Wing Point, the golf course was a sand green course when I first started to play. And eventually it got grass greens, and then eventually it became an 18-hole complex where along the north, the first tee there, the right side, that's all in housing now. So much building that's taken place. Oh, it's amazing. I mean, that we've just lost tab unless, if I drive around, I can't be sightseeing. So I'm just watching the road.
Right.
So unless I'm riding with somebody else, like fortunately yesterday we had we drove around the country club. We drove, as I said, the south end of the island, Fort Ward. Yeah, we were out at Point White. We covered the island.
Yeah. Well, we're just about out of tape, and I want to thank you very, very much for this interview. It's been fascinating. Now, is there anything that you'd like to cover that we haven't covered yet?
Well, nothing we've covered all the bases, I guess.
Okay. Well, there's a lot more. I mean, you have a tremendous background in this community, but we've got a lot on tape right now, and I think it's, my goodness, we've been at it almost an hour and a half.
Well,
so that's a long time.
Yeah. Well, if that is of any help, why?
Oh, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn off the machine now.
Yeah.